Hey, Husker fans, Sam McEwen along with Tom Shatel for Tom Shatel's Monday Press Pass. Here we are, Purdue week. Nebraska's 3-5. They've got 4 games left, and it feels almost like a mini season after a bye week, doesn't it, Tom?
Sam, it does. First of all, I wanted to give a shout out to all the high school football teams in the state. It's the high school football tournament starts this week, so please go to a game, support your local team, and yes, let's talk about these last 4 games.
To win. You
know, we got to get healthy. I love saying we. Anyway, the last 4 games to me this is like a mini season to me because and for all those people who have hot takes and a narrative, a headline, something to wrap yourself around and get excited about or mad about, you're going to get it. This is going to be one extreme or the other by the end of this thing. You're either going to get, hopefully not 3-9, or if it's 4-8, then people will not like that. That will be a very disappointing record. However, I think they have a chance to come out of this thing with something that they've never done, which is beat Ohio State. What they did once here, back when the Rex Burkhead days, and he scored the touchdown down here on this corner, or you win at Wisconsin, never done it, at least not since. I mean, Tom Osborne probably did it in the 70s, but that's it. Yeah. Or you beat Iowa for the first time in forever. So any of those accomplishments will have people buzzing. It will be a thing where, okay, maybe you didn't go to a bowl game, but you brought the evidence. You brought the proof. Maybe this thing is turning around. Maybe they're on their way. It will be a boost into the offseason. So there's 2 extremes going on here, Sam. I tend to lean toward the second, but I don't know who they're going to beat. I think it's going to be somebody.
Well, they got Purdue.
How's that for a prediction?
That's a good prediction. They've got Purdue this week. They're a healthy favorite. I mean, they're basically a touchdown favorite over Purdue. So people expect them to win.
But did you notice nobody in that room up there used the word winnable game?
That's right.
So they've learned their lesson finally on that. Purdue's not a winnable game. It's also a losable game as well.
Absolutely.
And this series has been weird. It's just ever since Brahms got in there, he's obviously a good coach. But the games have been tight.
I appreciate you saying that. I think Jeff Brom is a good coach because before he got there, Purdue was awful.
Yes.
And they're not awful now. They're fairly competitive, and they just upset Iowa 2 weeks ago, and Iowa's a pretty good football team.
Well, for years, Nebraska, the first several years of the Big Ten experience, they just owned Illinois and Purdue. Oh, yeah. And they just beat them up and down the field, usually. Well, that's changed, obviously. But this is a good game. And I feel like the Iowa game gave Nebraska a little bit of a blueprint, whereas Iowa played man on David Bell, and Nebraska will certainly be tempted to do something like that. But I think if you take him out, which is what Wisconsin did, and then you control the ball a little bit with Wisconsin's offense is certainly not great. Nebraska's offense is a lot better, at least right now. So I think this is I won't call it a winnable game. It's a game that Nebraska can win if they play well.
Yeah. Hey, I know we're sitting in here in Memorial Stadium, which is beautiful as always.
Always good.
But you wrote a really good column for Sunday, and it wasn't about Nebraska. It was about Creighton. It was about Creighton coach Greg McDermott. Very good. I think most of us thought, coming off of last year, of maybe the best team or one of the best teams in school history, that Mac might be ready to do something else. That's not the case. And in fact, the highest rated recruiting class in school history indicates that he might be more excited to go on a 3 or 4 year run with these guys after a very difficult year, some of which he made him for himself. I mean,
right.
But I thought that was an interesting comment. I wondered if you had any additional thoughts on it.
My thoughts are that was sort of my attitude also, because he is really tied with Bruce Rasmussen, the outgoing AD. He left Iowa State probably a year ahead of the posse, but he came to Creighton, Big 12 down in the valley, step down, but you've got a sold-out arena, and you've got one of your best friends as AD. Coaches love to have the boss who's going to have their back.
Right.
And they take jobs, not because they don't want to win, but they want to have a boss, a president, and an AD who has their back. I'm not sure if Mac feels that way about the Creighton president after the one that happened last year, but now he's got a new AD. But I think he's got a very adult approach to this, a very big boy approach, which is college sports, things happen, changes happen, you've got to adjust, you've got to be able to work for everybody. It's about the winning, and he set his program. I agree with one of the people I talked to. He was never going to leave. He couldn't leave it that way, and I really believe that he's put too much work into that program. He wants to see it through and make sure it's on solid ground, which I think it is. But the recruiting class did help that.
Well, yeah.
And now, I think having these freshmen and these kids, it brings it out of a coach. You get the old juices back.
Right.
When you have an older team, you don't coach as much. You just don't. It's about managing. But now he's back to coaching, and these guys love that stuff.
It feels like Scott Frost is still trying to coach too. I thought he had some good comments toward the end of the press conference about trying to get. He goes, "We're trying to be as psychological with the guys as possible."
Yeah.
And, I'm sure almost every coach wants to use a little bit of that, but they don't want to lean on it too much. It feels like within this Husker football program, Scott's pushed a lot of those buttons to try to get this team over the hump, and there's only 4 games left to prove they can do that. Like, the season's going to run out, and their record will be their record. They won't be able to point to anything but here is what we did on the field. And it might, at best, it looks 6-6. You're very optimistic to say they could beat Ohio State. I don't see that.
I don't think they will either.
But let's say, okay, best case scenario, they're 6-6. Everybody walks away feeling really good about it, given where they've been. Worst case is they lose out, and I just don't know. So those comments about trying to push buttons, and he got mad at the team last week during the bye week.
Yeah, he's
trying everything.
He's trying everything, but ultimately, the best teams, especially here or anywhere, are coached on the field by the players.
That's right.
And they haven't gotten those guys yet. That showed up really at the Minnesota game. That was my biggest disappointment with that game, was the players have to police themselves, have to motivate themselves. You don't have to have, you don't need anybody to hold your hand.
Right.
Go, figure it out for yourself. And that starts with the coaching staff. They have to teach them how to do that, and they haven't done that yet. And these are very hard lessons to learn. And so, could something? I don't know. I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State. But I'm just saying.
Oh, they could. They could.
But I think what I'm saying is, by the end of this 4 games, we're going to have a headline.
Yeah.
Either you're going to be really bad, or hey, something big happened here they haven't done before.
Right.
This is exciting. So, either or.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to have coverage all week of all kinds of stuff. Tom can write about anything and does, so he's going to have lots of stuff this week to write about. Maybe a little Husker basketball, a little UNO hockey. We'll see.
Yeah, I just got a text back from the old Husker, the Husker great Paul Myers.
Is his son playing in the World Series?
Well, I'm going to ask him that. I'm going to talk to him this afternoon, and we're going to write about that later. But how exciting is that? The former Husker Jake Myers is really creating his own legacy with the Astros, and if he can get in the World Series, there are not many homegrown Nebraskans who've done that. There have been a few. Alex Gordon, certainly. Grover Cleveland Alexander, I wrote about last week, did.
There have been a few, yeah.
There have been a few, but this will add to the legacy. I hate the Astros, but I love Jake. How about that?
There you go. We'll have lots of Husker coverage this week. All right. Stick with us at the Omaha World-Herald, omaha.com, and huskerextra.com. Thanks.